Okay, so we're going to start this drawing, and before I do that, I'm going to make sure that I have my AutoCAD set up so we can all be on the same sheet. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check and see which O-snaps I have turned on. So at this moment you can pause the video and turn these ones on, but these are the most common ones I'll have on. And since I see that all of these lines are straight, I'm going to go ahead and turn my ortho on. Remember, you can control this one with the F8 function key. So if I hit F8 on my keyboard, you'll see that that will toggle on, and also on your command line it should say ortho on. If yours is saying ortho off, just hit the F8 button again or click this button here and make sure it's turned blue. Okay, so now with my ortho turned on, I'm going to start a line, and I'm just going to type in L, enter. I'm going to click a location in my graphic area. I'm going to go straight down a distance of 20. And you can see that that line did indeed run off of my graphics area, so I'm just going to scroll backwards with my scroll wheel on my mouse. I'm going to aim to the right. I'm going to go a distance of 50. Enter. Then I want to go up a distance of 20. Enter. I'm going to go right a distance of 40. Enter. Let's go up 20. Enter. Back to the left 40. Enter. I'm going to go up 20. Enter. And once again I have that same problem that I can't see the end of that line. So I'm just going to pan down, and remember the pan down is to hold that middle scroll wheel down until you get the little hand. I'm going to drag to the left 50. Enter. Let's go down 20. Enter. I'm going to go right 35. Enter. I'm going to go down 20. Enter. And then I'm going to go back to that original point that I started with, so I'm just going to hit C. Enter. And remember that that C stands for close. I'm going to double click the middle mouse wheel just to zoom the extents. If you're having trouble with double clicking that middle mouse wheel, you can always click on this icon here, which is also the exact same thing. It's the zoom extents. Okay, I'm going to scroll backwards just a little bit. And the next thing I need to do is I need to make sure that all of these are one continuous polyline. So if I highlight all of this, and I'm just going to hit the J button on my keyboard, so J, enter. And now that's all joined. You're going to also see on your command line, it should tell you that you have some objects converted into one polyline. The key there is to make sure that it says one polyline. If it says anything other than one, do it again. So highlight it all and hit the J button again. Okay, so now that this is one continuous polyline, it's ready to be created into a three-dimensional shape. So I'm going to switch AutoCAD over to doing things in 3D. I'm going to come down and I'm going to find the settings. I'm going to click the fly up next to it. And then I'm going to choose the one that says 3D modeling. Okay, you would give it a second, and now you're going to see that your ribbon will change to where you see it doing three-dimensional layout. Alright, so I want to go ahead and extrude this one. So in the drop down here, I'm going to select extrude. You can also type in EXT, which is the shortcut for extrude, and hit the enter button. The first thing it tells me to do on my command line, or the one that's right next to my cursor, is select objects to extrude. So I'm going to select the shape that I have, and then I'm going to hit the enter button. That just tells me that I'm done selecting shapes. Next thing I need to do is give it a height or a direction. In this case, I want it to go up 35. So type in 35 and hit the enter button. Okay, now everything looks the same from this top view. So I'm just going to click on the lower left corner on my view cube here. And once I do that, you're going to see that that shape will go into an isometric view. Now, if you remember back to the picture, you can see that this is indeed my front view and this is my top view. So I have the orientation set up correctly the way I want it in order to complete the next step. But before I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and show it in a kind of visual way. Right now, you can see a lot of lines that are kind of on top of each other. And this can be where most students will kind of lose track of what's in 3D. So one easy way of doing that is select where it says 2D wireframe and go ahead and scroll down on this list and select the shades of gray option. And now you can actually see that color, or you can actually see the solid, so you don't see all those extra lines that are included inside of it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to the base view. And this is what I'm going to use. Well, instead of doing the base view, I'm going to actually switch over to the layout tab. So let's go down to the bottom and select layout 1. And what I want you to do is select the rectangle that's around it and hit the delete button. Next thing I'm going to do is insert in my title block. Remember, the insert command is simply just type in I enter, and it should open up your insert dialog box. Now yours may be looking different. I do have some recent things in here that I've been working on, and if it's your first time opening AutoCAD, it's going to have something here in the middle, and I can't remember what that link is going to say. But anyway, you could select the little folder here if you have this little option. And this is where you're going to go and navigate to where your title block is located. Once you have successfully navigated to where your title block is located, and also remember that this title block is going to be located inside the module or the class, so you'll be able to download this and place it where you want it. So I'm just going to navigate to it, and I'm going to select it and hit the open button. Down here on the bottom, I'm going to select some of these options. So I want to take off this insertion point, so I'm just going to turn that off. And now make sure that you do not click in the graphic area, but I'm going to come back up in this area and I'm just going to do a right click. And I'm just going to do a right click on the icon here, and I'm just going to hit the insert button and then go to close. You can see now that my title block is inserted around my drawing, and now I need to make the paper size match the drawing. The way that we're going to do that is, remember that if you go to the layout tab, and then I'm going to go all the way over to where it says page setup, I'm going to select modify here in the drop down. Then I'm going to go to where it says printer/plotter, and underneath name, select the drop down. Scroll down to where you see DWG to PDF. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is adjust the paper size. So I'm going to click this box here, and I'm just going to scroll up to where it says ANSI Full Bleed B 17 by 11. Once you have that selected, underneath the plot area, just change this to extents. And then put a check in this center to plot box. And go ahead and select the OK button. And then hit close. Now you will notice that your title block should be, and your paper size should be the exact same size. Next thing I need to do is insert in the view that I have. So I'm going to go back and click on the Home tab. And then underneath this one that's far to your right, I'm going to select the one that says Base. And then I'm going to tell it from Model Space. Okay, so once you select that option, and depending on how fast or slow your computer is, you're going to get the box that's going to appear, and it's going to kind of look like the shape of what your front view is going to look like. So I'm just going to go ahead and click here and place it. So one left click here, and then I'm going to get the options. Do I want to do any of this other stuff? You can just hit the enter button and then move your mouse to the top and do a left click here. And then rotate your cursor, or move your cursor over to this side, and you will get the isometric of it. One left click here. Then I want you to do a right click and hit the enter button. The escape button also can work after you go ahead and select that last option. Okay, So this came in to be pretty much the right size, but we can adjust these sizes if needed. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my isometric view to look like a true isometric view. So I'm just going to double click on this icon here, or on this box. So anywhere inside of that box, as long as you get the outline showing up, double click. Underneath where it says hidden lines, I want you to select the drop down. And then I want you to choose the one that says visible lines. Okay, you can go ahead and hit the OK button, or once again you can select escape as well. The next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and put dimensions on this. So I'm just going to type in D, enter. And that D is the way we got to our dimension styles. I'm just going to modify. And I'm really not going to change too much into this drawing. I'm just going to come where it says primary units and select the one that has the 0 decimal places. I'll go ahead and select OK and then close. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is make sure that my dimensions come out on the right layer. So I'm going to come up to where it says annotate, select the annotate tab, and then underneath this box here where it says use current, select the drop down, and then choose the one that says dimensions. Okay, now I'm ready to put some dimensions on my drawing. So I'm going to start with a linear dimension, and I'm going to select that endpoint and then this endpoint. I'm going to come above it and then left click. Okay, I want to continue from that dimension, so I'm going to choose this continue option. And then I'm just going to select this endpoint. Hit the escape button. Select linear. And since this is one continuous line in the back, I'm just going to hit the enter button. And you're going to see now it's going to say select objects to dimension. And I'm just going to select this line here, drag out a little bit, and left click. Okay, I'll use a linear dimension here. So I'll go to linear. I'm going to click this endpoint, followed by this endpoint. I'm going to come down, left click. Then I'll do a linear dimension again. And I'm going to select this endpoint and that endpoint and come and place it. I'm going to use that continue option again. And now I'm just going to select this endpoint and that endpoint, followed by the escape button. Okay, one more dimension that I need to place on here is just going to be a linear dimension, and it's going to be a continuous line, so I'm going to hit that enter button again, and I'm just going to select this back line here and drag it out to some distance and click. Hit the escape button. Okay, so now that we have our drawing created, let's go ahead and fill in our title block here at the bottom. So the first thing I need to do is figure out what scale are these at. That's real easy when you're working in 3D. If I double click on one of these, you're going to see here in the very top box here, it's going to give me what scale it is. And it's telling me that this drawing is scaled up to 1 to 20. Alright, so I'll just hit the cancel button. And then I'm going to fill in my title block. I'm going to use the ATE command, which is the attribute edit. So ATE, enter. Select your title block. And then go ahead and fill out these. So you can fill in your name. Go ahead and fill in the scale, which is 1:20. And underneath the project, I'm just going to call this one Class 1 Example 1. Go ahead and hit the OK button and save this one and make sure you turn it in.